Princess Lyritha shivered in her escape pod as it drifted through the cold emptiness of space. Her royal vessel had been attacked without warning, forcing her to flee while her loyal guards fought to give her time. Now, alone in the small craft with oxygen running low, she watched in horror as a human ship appeared on her scanner. The humans were coming for her. All her life, she had been taught that humans were dangerous creatures, unpredictable, violent. They collected alien specimens like trophies, treating them as pets or worse. At least, that's what the royal tutors had always said. On the bridge of the U.S. Intrepid, Commander Jack Ryan studied the small escape pod on his screen. "What do we have, Nancy?" he asked his science officer. Lieutenant Nancy Ford checked her readings. "One life form, Commander. Vesperan female. Her pod's life support is failing." Jack nodded. He had never seen a Vesperan in person before. The tall, scaled aliens kept to themselves mostly, avoiding human space whenever possible. "Bring her in," he ordered, "but have security teams ready. We don't know why a Vesperan royal ship was destroyed in neutral space." The Intrepid's tractor beam locked onto the small pod, pulling it slowly toward the ship's hangar bay. Inside, Lyritha felt the pull and knew her fate was sealed. She straightened her royal garments and tried to calm her racing hearts. As a princess of the Vesperan stellar dominion, she would face these humans with dignity, even as she feared what they might do to her. The hangar bay pressurized after the pod was secure. Jack led a small team to meet their unexpected visitor. The pod's door hissed open, and for the first time, humans and Vesperan royalty came face to face. Lyritha was tall, nearly 7 feet, with iridescent scales that shimmered under the bright lights. Her 4 arms were positioned defensively, and her large eyes scanned the room quickly, looking for threats. "I am Princess Lyritha of House Vexilor," she announced, her translator converting her musical language into clear English. "I demand safe passage to neutral territory under galactic law." Jack stepped forward, keeping his hands visible. "I'm Commander Jack Ryan of the Earth ship Intrepid. We picked up distress signals from your vessel, but arrived too late to help. What happened out there?" Lyritha's eyes narrowed. Was this human playing games? Surely they had been the ones to attack her ship. "Raiders attacked without warning," she said carefully, watching for any reaction. "I was forced to flee." Jack nodded. "You're safe now. We'll provide medical care if you need it, and comfortable quarters while we investigate this incident." Lyritha couldn't hide her surprise. This wasn't what she had expected at all. Where were the restraints? The cage? Why was this human offering her quarters instead of claiming her as a prize? "And then what will you do with me?" she asked, unable to keep the fear from her voice. Jack seemed confused by her question. "Do with you? Once we understand what happened, we'll help you return to your people or reach asylum if that's what you want." As Lyritha followed Jack from the hangar bay, surrounded by curious but respectful humans, she realized that perhaps everything she had been taught about these creatures might not be true. But if humans weren't the monsters she'd been raised to fear, why had her royal tutors lied to her? And why had her ship really been attacked? These questions troubled her as the door to her new quarters slid shut. She was safe for now, but she sensed that this was just the beginning of a much larger mystery. Lyritha paced her quarters, examining everything with careful touches of her 4 hands. The room was simple but comfortable. A bed adjusted for her tall frame, a computer terminal, and a small bathroom with fixtures modified to accommodate her alien biology. This was not a prison cell. This was not what she expected. A chime sounded at her door. "You may enter," she called, straightening her posture to appear more regal. Lieutenant Nancy Ford stepped in carrying a tray of food. Her eyes widened slightly at the sight of the princess, but she quickly recovered. "I brought you something to eat," Nancy said with a warm smile. "Our chef did some research on Vesperan dietary needs. I hope it's acceptable." Lyritha approached cautiously. The food smelled pleasant enough, vegetables and fruits arranged in colorful patterns, and a protein source that resembled fish. Your people are treating me as a guest, not a prisoner, Lurtha observed. Why? Nancy looked genuinely confused. Why would we treat you like a prisoner? You're a survivor we rescued, and royalty besides. My people believe humans capture aliens as trophies or pets, Lurtha admitted. I expected to be put on display or worse. Nancy nearly dropped the tray. That's horrible. Who told you such things about us? Before Lurtha could answer, Commander Ryan arrived at the door. He had changed from his formal uniform into more casual duty clothes. Princess, if you're feeling up to it, I'd like to ask you some questions about the attack, he said. Then, noticing the tension in the room, is everything all right? Nancy shook her head. She thought we were going to keep her as some kind of pet trophy, Commander. Jack's expression darkened. That would explain your fear when we brought you aboard. Princess, I assure you, humans don't collect sentient beings. That would violate every law and moral principle we have. Lurtha studied him carefully. Either this human was an excellent actor, or he was genuinely offended by the very idea. Could her people's understanding of humans be so wrong? Please, sit down, she said, gesturing to a small table. I will answer your questions, and perhaps you can answer some of mine. Over the next hour, Lurtha described the attack, how her ship had been on a diplomatic mission when unidentified vessels appeared and opened fire without warning. Jack listened carefully, asking smart questions about the attackers' tactics and weapons. And you didn't recognize the ships? He asked. Lurtha hesitated. Their energy signatures seemed familiar, but it makes no sense. They attacked without declaring themselves. Jack nodded, making notes on his tablet. We've recovered some debris from your ship. Our analysis should tell us more about the weapons used. Commander, Lurtha said slowly, if you didn't attack my ship, and you're not keeping me as a trophy, what will happen to me now? That depends on what we discover, Jack replied honestly. If you're in danger, we can offer protection. If you wish to return to your people, we can arrange transport. The choice will be yours. This was nothing like what Lurtha had been taught about humans. They seemed reasonable, even kind. As Jack prepared to leave, another thought struck her. Commander, you said you responded to distress signals from my ship, but our distress beacon was destroyed in the first attack. We never sent any signal. Jack stopped at the door, his expression growing serious. Then someone wanted us to find you, Princess. The question is, was it to save you, or to frame us for something? As he left, Lurtha sat down heavily on her bed. If humans weren't her enemy, then who was? And why had she been taught to fear the very people who might now be her only allies? By her third day aboard the Intrepid, Lurtha found herself growing curious about these humans. They moved differently than her people, quicker, more animated in their gestures. Their skin lacked the protective scales of Vesperans, yet they seemed comfortable in their vulnerability. The ship's doctor, Ben Clark, had asked permission to perform a basic health scan, which she had reluctantly granted. Now he stood before her, reviewing results on his tablet. Your biology is fascinating, Princess, Dr. Clark said with genuine interest. Your dual cardiovascular system is remarkably efficient. And yours is not. Lurtha asked, genuinely curious. One heart has served us well enough, he laughed. Though sometimes I think I could use a spare when treating certain stubborn crew members. This casual humor surprised her. Vesperan doctors were formal, distant figures who rarely spoke to patients beyond necessity. A knock at the door interrupted them. Commander Ryan entered, followed by a woman Lurtha hadn't met before. Princess, this is Kelly Martinez, our communications specialist, Jack said. She's been analyzing the attack data and has some findings to share. Kelly nodded respectfully. Your Highness, we've isolated communications from just before the attack on your ship. They were encrypted, but we managed to break the code. What did you find? Lurtha asked, suddenly tense. The communications came from within Vesperan space, Kelly explained, displaying a star chart on her tablet. They contain detailed information about your ship's course and defenses. Lertha's inner eyelids fluttered rapidly, a sign of distress that didn't go unnoticed by the humans. "Are you suggesting my own people betrayed me?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack sat down across from her. "We don't know that yet, but it raises questions about why you were targeted and why someone wanted humans involved." Lertha turned away, her mind racing. Could it be true? Was this why her father had insisted she take this diplomatic mission, despite her reservations? "Princess," Jack said gently, "if you're in danger from your own government, we need to know. We can help protect you." "You don't understand Vesperan politics," she replied sharply. "Our ruling houses have maintained peace for centuries through careful balances of power. If I accuse anyone without proof—" "Then let's find proof," Kelly suggested. "Your ship's computers might have recorded data we can use." Lertha shook her head. "The main systems were destroyed in the attack." "But you escaped," Dr. Clark pointed out. "Did you bring anything with you? Any personal devices?" Lertha hesitated, then reached into a hidden pocket in her royal garments. She produced a small crystal, glowing with inner light. "My royal signet," she explained. "It contains encrypted access codes to our central databases, along with my personal log entries." Jack's eyes widened. "That could be exactly what we need. Would you be willing to let Kelly examine it?" "It would require a Vesperan neural interface," Lertha said. "Your technology isn't compatible." "Actually," Kelly said with a slight smile, "we've been studying Vesperan tech for years. I might be able to build an adapter." Lertha looked from one human face to another, seeing nothing but genuine desire to help. If her suspicions were correct, if someone in the royal court had orchestrated this attack, then these humans might be her only allies. "Very well," she said, handing the crystal to Kelly. "But be careful. This contains not just data, but pieces of my memories, my thoughts." As Kelly left with the precious crystal, Jack stayed behind. "There's something else you should know," he said quietly. "We've detected a Vesperan warship entering this sector. They're broadcasting demands for your immediate return." Lertha felt her heart's racing. "They'd found me already." "Yes," Jack confirmed. "And they're claiming you're a criminal who stole state secrets. They're demanding we hand you over immediately." "A criminal?" Lertha's voice shook with anger. "I am the heir to the throne. They dare call me a criminal." Jack watched her carefully. The princess paced the room, all four of her hands clenched into fists. Her scales shifted colors with her emotions, flashing deep reds and oranges. "What will you do, Commander?" she finally asked. "Will you turn me over to them?" "That depends," Jack said evenly. "Are you a criminal? Did you steal state secrets?" Lertha stopped pacing. "No, but I did discover secrets. Terrible ones." Before she could explain, Kelly rushed into the room, her face pale. "Commander, Princess, I've decoded part of the crystal," she said breathlessly. "You need to see this immediately." She placed a tablet on the table. A video began to play, showing a meeting room with several high-ranking Vesperans. Lertha pointed to one of them. "That's General Vorthal, my father's chief military advisor," she explained. In the video, the general spoke clearly. The humans must be provoked into war. The attack on the border colonies must appear to be their doing. When the people demand action, the Emperor will have no choice but to approve our military plans. Another Vesperan spoke up. "And what of Princess Lertha? She suspects our intentions." "The princess will suffer an unfortunate accident during her diplomatic mission," Vorthal replied coldly. "One that will appear to be the work of humans." Jack looked at Lertha, whose scales had paled to a sickly white. "You weren't supposed to survive the attack," he said quietly. "No," she whispered. "I was meant to die and become the reason for war. My father, he must not know of this plot." "Or he's part of it," Jack suggested gently. Lertha's head snapped up, a denial ready on her lips, but she stopped herself. Could her own father be involved? The Emperor had been acting strangely lately, canceling their private meetings, keeping her away from military briefings. "I don't know anymore," she admitted. On the ship's intercom, a voice broke the tense silence. "Commander Ryan to the bridge immediately. Vesperan warship is charging weapons." Jack sprinted from the room, Lurtha close behind him. On the bridge, screens showed the massive Vesperan vessel approaching. "They've demanded we power down and prepare to be boarded," First Officer Pete Jackson reported. "They claim jurisdiction over the princess as a Vesperan citizen." "They'll kill me the moment I'm back in their hands," Lurtha said. "And they'll take this evidence with me." Jack studied the tactical display. The Intrepid was fast, but the Vesperan warship outgunned them significantly. "Options?" he asked his crew. "We could make a run for Federation space," Navigation Officer Lisa Wong suggested. "Their ships can't follow us there without starting an incident." "We'd never make it," Security Chief Rick Brown countered. "They'd disable our engines before we cleared the sector." Kelly raised her hand. "What about showing them what we know? Broadcasting the evidence?" "No good," Pete said. "They'd jam our transmissions." Jack turned to Lurtha. "It's your life at stake. What do you think we should do?" Lurtha stared at the image of the warship, her people's ship. How many innocents served aboard, following orders without knowing the truth? How many would die if war broke out? "I need to address my people directly," she said firmly. "Not just the crew of that ship, but all Vesperans. This conspiracy goes beyond a few military leaders. The people must know the truth." Jack nodded slowly. "A galaxy-wide broadcast. But we'd need to reach a major communications relay, and they'd be hunting us every step of the way." "If we stay here, I die and war follows," Lurtha said. "I'd rather take the risk." Jack looked around at his crew, saw determination in their eyes. They had signed up to serve, to protect peace. This was their chance to prevent a war before it started. "Plot a course for the Arcturus relay," he ordered, "and prepare for evasive maneuvers. We're not handing over the princess." The Intrepid shuddered as another blast from the Vesperan warship struck its shields. Inside the bridge, emergency lights flashed red while the crew worked calmly at their stations. "Shields at 60%. Rick called out, his fingers dancing across the security console. Jack gripped his command chair. "Lisa, can you get us any more speed?" Navigation Officer Lisa Wong shook her head. "The engines are at maximum, Commander. We're still 2 hours from the Arcturus relay." Lurtha stood beside Jack, watching the tactical display with growing concern. The Vesperan warship was gaining on them, its massive form dwarfing the human vessel. "They're hailing us again," Kelly reported. "On screen," Jack ordered. The face of a stern Vesperan military commander appeared. His scales were dark blue with gold markings that indicated high rank. "Commander Ryan," he said coldly, "I am Captain Drestor of the Imperial Vessel Judgment. Return the traitor princess immediately, or we will destroy your ship." Jack remained calm. "Captain, Princess Lurtha is under our protection. We have evidence of a conspiracy within your military to start a war with humans. Power down your weapons, and we can discuss this peacefully." Drestor's eyes narrowed. "There is nothing to discuss. The princess has stolen state secrets and fled justice. Return her now." Lurtha stepped forward. "Captain Drestor, I know you. You served my father loyally for years. Are you now serving traitors who plot against him, who plot war?" Doubt flickered across the captain's face before his expression hardened again. "These are your final moments to comply." The screen went dark. "They're charging their main cannon," Rick warned. Jack turned to his chief engineer on the comm. "Owen, we need those shield boosters now." Chief Engineer Owen Garsha's voice came through, strained but determined. "Almost there, Commander. Just need 2 more minutes." "We don't have 2 minutes," Pete muttered. Lurtha suddenly stepped forward. "Commander, let me take a shuttle. If I surrender myself, your crew will be spared." Jack shook his head firmly. "Not happening, Princess. We don't abandon allies. A massive blast rocked the ship, throwing several crew members to the floor. Direct hit, Rick shouted. Shields at 30%. Jack helped Lurtha back to her feet. Any ideas that don't involve surrender? Lurtha studied the star map with intense focus. There, she pointed to a nearby system, the Ceres Nebula. Its radiation interferes with Vesperan targeting systems. It's dangerous, but it might give us the advantage we need. Lisa, set course for the nebula, Jack ordered. Kelly, transmit all our evidence to Earth Command, just in case we don't make it. The Intrepid changed course, diving toward the swirling purple gases of the nebula. The Vesperan warship followed, firing continuously. They're gaining on us, Pete warned as another blast struck the ship. The bridge filled with smoke as a console exploded. Jack helped an injured crew member to safety, then returned to his chair. 30 seconds to Nebula Edge, Lisa announced, her voice steadied despite the chaos. Lurtha watched in amazement as the humans worked together, refusing to give up even against overwhelming odds. They were fighting for her, risking their lives for an alien princess they barely knew, all because they believed in truth and justice. In that moment, she felt something she hadn't expected. Not just gratitude, but a deep respect for these humans. They weren't the monsters she'd been taught to fear. They were brave, principled, and loyal. Entering Nebula now, Lisa called out. The view screen filled with swirling purple gas as the Intrepid plunged into the nebula's depths. Behind them, the massive Vesperan warship hesitated at the edge, then slowly followed. Their weapons fire is becoming less accurate, Rick reported with a grim smile. The nebula is working. Jack turned to Lurtha. Now we just need a plan to lose them completely and reach that relay. For the first time since her rescue, Lurtha smiled. I think I might have one, Commander. Deep within the purple swirls of the Ceres Nebula, the Intrepid cut its engines and drifted silently. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows across the bridge as the crew worked in near silence. Their sensors can't find us if we stay powered down, Lurtha explained in a hushed voice. But we can't stay here forever. Jack nodded, studying the tactical display where the Vesperan warship prowled the nebula, searching for them. We need to reach that relay. Any ideas? Lurtha hesitated. There is one possibility, but it would require trust. We're listening, Jack said. Vesperan ships have a security weakness. Our central command systems can be temporarily disabled by a specific energy pulse, she explained. But creating that pulse would require me to access your ship's main computer directly. Through a neural link. The bridge crew exchanged concerned glances. A neural link? Jack asked. Is that safe? For your computer, yes, Lurtha said. For me, less so. The feedback could be painful, even dangerous. Chief Engineer Owen arrived on the bridge, his uniform stained with coolant fluid. She's right, Commander. I studied Vesperan tech. Their ships have this vulnerability, but exploiting it would require intimate knowledge of their systems. Why would you risk yourself like this? Jack asked Lurtha quietly. She looked around at the humans who had protected her, fought for her, believed in her. Because you have all risked yourselves for me, and because the truth must reach my people. Jack considered for a long moment, then nodded. Owen, prepare the main computer core for the princess. Rick, be ready to bring weapons and engines back online the moment their ship is disabled. As Lurtha followed Owen to the computer core, Kelly fell into step beside her. I want to thank you, the communications officer said softly. Not everyone would be brave enough to stand against their own people like this. They aren't all my people, Lurtha replied. The conspirators are traitors to the true Vesperan values of honor and truth. My father taught me those values. Do you think he's involved in this conspiracy? Kelly asked gently. Lurtha's steps faltered. I don't know. But even if he is, the truth matters more than my loyalty to one person, even if that person is my father. In the computer core, Owen had prepared a neural interface adapted for Vesperan physiology. The glowing connectors looked alien against the human technology. "This will hurt," Owen warned as he helped attach the connectors to Lertha's neural points along her head crest. "I'm ready," she said firmly. Jack watched from the doorway as the princess closed her eyes. The moment the final connection was made, her body went rigid with pain. The ship's lights flickered as she channeled her consciousness through the computer systems, creating the precise energy pattern needed. On the bridge view screen, the pursuing Vesperan warship suddenly went dark, drifting helplessly in the nebula. It worked. Rick called over the comm. "Their systems are completely offline. Get us out of here, maximum speed," Jack ordered. Back in the computer core, Lertha screamed as feedback surged through the neural connection. Owen quickly disconnected her, catching her as she collapsed. "Princess," he called, checking her vital signs. "Medic to the computer core, now." Dr. Clark arrived moments later, scanning her rapidly. "Her neural pathways are overloaded, but she's stable. We need to get her to sickbay immediately." As they rushed her through the corridors, Lertha drifted in and out of consciousness. Through the haze of pain, she felt gentle human hands caring for her, heard concerned voices discussing her condition. In sickbay, Dr. Clark worked frantically to stabilize her. Jack stood nearby, his face etched with worry. "She risked everything for us," he said quietly. "Will she recover?" "Her physiology is resilient," Dr. Clark replied, "but she'll need time to heal." Lertha's eyes fluttered open briefly. "Did we escape?" she whispered. Jack took her hand gently. "Yes, Princess. Thanks to you, we're on our way to the relay. Your message will reach your people." She smiled weakly before slipping back into unconsciousness. For the first time since her capture, she felt truly at peace. She had found something she never expected among these humans. Not captivity, but freedom. Not enemies, but friends willing to fight beside her for truth. 1 month later, Lertha stood before the Earth Vesperan Peace Council. The large chamber was filled with representatives from both species, their faces solemn as they listened to her speak. "The conspiracy has been fully exposed," she said, her voice strong and clear. "General Vorthal and his followers have been arrested. The weapons they planned to use against human colonies have been destroyed." From his seat at the human delegation, Jack watched with pride. Lertha looked different now, more confident, her royal garments replaced by a simpler outfit that blended Vesperan and human styles. The neural damage from her brave act had healed, though Dr. Clark said she might always carry faint scars from the experience. "The most important question remains," said the head of the Earth delegation. "What of the Emperor? Was he involved in this plot?" A hush fell over the room. This was the question everyone had been afraid to ask. Lertha took a deep breath. "My father knew nothing of the conspiracy. He was being slowly poisoned by Vorthal, which clouded his judgment and kept him isolated. He is recovering now, and has sent me to speak with his full authority." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Jack remembered how worried Lertha had been about her father, how relieved when tests proved he had been a victim, not a conspirator. "And what does the Emperor propose?" asked the Earth delegate. "A new era of cooperation between our peoples," Lertha replied. "The old fears and misunderstandings must end. We propose open cultural exchanges, trade agreements, and a joint defense treaty." As the council members discussed these proposals, Jack slipped out of his seat and made his way to a side corridor. A few minutes later, Lertha joined him there, away from the crowds and cameras. "Very diplomatic," Jack said with a smile. "You didn't mention how your father wept when he saw the evidence, or how he has restructured the entire Imperial Council." Lertha's scales rippled with amusement. "Some details are better kept private. But yes, things are changing quickly at home. My father has even started learning English." "And what about you?" Jack asked more seriously. "Will you return to Vesperan soon?" She looked down for a moment. "My father has asked me to serve as our first official ambassador to Earth. If I accept, I would stay here for several years. And will you accept? I think so, she said, meeting his eyes. I have learned much about humans in these past weeks. There is still more to learn, I think. Jack nodded, remembering how terrified she had been when they first brought her aboard the Intrepid. From captive to ambassador. Quite a journey. I was never really your captive, Lertha said softly. Though I believed I was at first. I thought being taken by humans was the worst fate possible. Now I see it was the best thing that could have happened. A call came from the council chamber. The delegates were ready to continue. They're waiting for you, Jack said. The future ambassador should not be late. As they walked back toward the chamber, Lertha stopped suddenly. Jack, there is something I have wanted to ask. Why did you risk so much for me? Your ship, your crew, your own life, all for an alien princess you didn't know. Jack thought for a moment before answering. Because it was the right thing to do. Because every person deserves the chance to be heard, to speak their truth. And because sometimes the greatest gift we can offer someone is simply to believe them when no one else will. Lertha's eyes shimmered with emotion. In Vesperan tradition, when someone saves a royal life, they become forever part of the royal household. You would have a place of honor in my father's court. Jack smiled. I'm just a simple starship commander, but I'd be honored to be called your friend. Friend, Lertha repeated the word, as if testing how it felt. Yes, I think I would like that very much. Together, they walked back into the chamber where humans and Vesperans worked to build a peace that neither had thought possible just months before. The princess who had once been terrified of becoming a human's prize had instead found something far more valuable, understanding between two worlds.